I'm Lisa Stone. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Parenting Aces. Welcome to the Parenting Aces podcast. So glad to have you with us. If you follow me on Facebook or Twitter, you probably know that I am heading out to the California desert later this week to attend the BNP Paribas Open at Indian Wells, and I'm so excited. I'm going to be out there Thursday through Sunday, watching matches, meeting with some folks in and around the tennis industry, and hopefully seeing lots of you guys, lots of the Parenting Aces community. So if you're going to be out there, please reach out to me. You can tweet at me, you can message me through Facebook or text me, but please do make contact so we can say hello and maybe meet for a cold drink in the desert heat. I really look forward to that. So on this week's podcast, I am thrilled to bring Harsh Mankad of Tenicity back to you guys. Harsh has been on the podcast many times in the past. He's also written several articles for parentingaces.com. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Harsh, he is the founder of a company called Tenicity. It is a tennis platform built for player development, communication between players, parents, and coaches, goal setting, video analysis, and all sorts of other aspects of the overall player development process. This week specifically, we're going to be talking about how to do the work right. And I think it's a really important concept, one that we touched on with Craig O'Shaughnessy at the end of last year, and one that we will continue to talk about on this podcast. If we want to see our players reach their highest potential, we've got to do better during practice. And as Harsh reminds us, if we do the day-to-day stuff right, the results will come. That's an important concept to keep in mind, and oftentimes something very difficult for us parents. So I encourage you to listen to Harsh this week, and if you are so inclined, go back and listen to some of my past interviews with him, and then talk to your child's coach about Tenicity and ask if this is something that they're looking into using. It is a great tool, something that Harsh is working very hard to keep affordable, and something that is really the wave of the future. So enjoy this week's conversation with Harsh Mankad. Harsh Mankad, thank you so much for being back on the Parenting Aces podcast. It's been a while since we've checked in with you.
Yes, thanks, Lisa. It's great to be back and excited to discuss player development. It's always great to be on your show.
Well, thanks. You've had so much going on with Tenicity, and that was kind of the impetus for doing the podcast again, is your newsletter that goes out. And I want to encourage my listeners, if they're not signed up to receive it, that they should go to tenicity.com and sign up to get that. But I got the latest newsletter, and there's so much exciting stuff going on, and I really wanted to give you the opportunity to share that with the Parenting Aces audience.
Sure. Thank you so much. We've made progress, and it's about working on it every day to support tennis programs, working with coaches and listening to them and the players and parents. So a couple of key things. One, in Spain, our partnership with Soto Tennis Academy is going strong. So we're almost coming up to about 10 months now, and most of the Academy's committed players are using our application to share match results, match evaluations, their weekly reports. So really happy about our partnership with Soto Tennis. In India, we have launched a partnership with a state that's looking to track their players. This state is the size of the northeast of the U.S., so it's a big area. And for the first time, we've launched a platform where we're covering about 100 players, looking at their performance, really trying to go deeper into helping them on a weekly training schedule. So I'm really excited about that. And most recently, we've launched our mobile app, which helps us to improve our technology. So now players, coaches, even parents can log in, share the match results, share the match evaluations. So that communication now it can happen very quickly right after your match or on the way home in the car. So excited about our mobile app and looking to improve that over the next several months.
Fantastic. So for my listeners that haven't maybe listened to our previous podcasts or read some of the articles that we've got on parentingaces.com, can you give like the quick and dirty explanation of Tenicity and what it's all about
Sure.
and what the goals are?
Sure. So Tenicity is an interactive platform, and the key goal is to bring together all of the structured communication and data. So think about lesson plans, players' goals on the training side, and then match results, match evaluations, all of that communication, bringing it into one place for the coach, for the players, for the parents. And that's really what it is. It's about organizing the communication, learning from the data, and then trying to see how you can improve training and performance. So it's definitely a data-driven process. But through my experience in tennis over 30 years as a player, last 10 years as a coach, I think it's really important to look at the data and to learn from it and see how you can improve training, how you can drive more focus, and what you can learn from matches too, because that feedback is critical. So it's a platform that really brings it together in one place in an interactive experience.
And so you've been traveling all over the world, meeting with governing bodies, meeting with universities, meeting with academies. And what are you learning as you go to help you make Tenicity a stronger tool for everybody involved, for the coach, the parent, and the player?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. So it really comes down to the needs of the program. So clearly, at the programs that we're supporting are looking for a way to really manage their players' development, but do so in a personalized way. So, for example, Soto Tennis, they've got 75 players at the academy, but each player has goals. Each player has their training plan. And they want to look at each player's feedback. So we're helping them to really organize this information and create a personalized experience for each player. And I think that's the big opportunity. What I've seen a lot in my career and where I feel programs struggle a lot is, particularly as they get larger, it's difficult to give that attention to each player. And the reality is every player has their own specific goals, their own needs. And so that's where technology can come in and really help us to use these tools to ensure that every player has the best opportunity to be the best they can. So I'm learning about the different needs of the different segments because they're different. You know, a junior academy is quite different from a college program. It's quite different from a state system. But the common denominator here is that to do a good job with player development, to follow the players, to give them good advice, to help them improve continuously, you really need a technology, a platform like Tenicity to keep your pulse on what's going on a daily basis.
Yeah, and you know, one of the topics that kind of comes up when I talk with coaches is this whole idea of parents having an unrealistic kind of perspective on how good their child is. And I'm curious if that's something that comes up in your conversations with the coaching side of things, you know, that we parents sometimes tend to have this inflated view of our child's talent and potential, and how Tenicity can be used to really provide sort of an unbiased point of view.
Yeah, it's an important point. So one of the things you can do with Tenicity's platform is establish clear roles and a process. So I think that's very important that once a coach also creates a structure and the parent starts getting used to that structure. For example, every month there's a report or there's a certain style and frequency to the feedback. And I think parents are more informed. And as parents become more informed, they just sort of know what the plan is. They know what their role is. So I really think the onus falls back on the coach, on the program, to create a very specific process and to create a structure. Now, if you don't have any structure, you don't have any process, and everyone's sort of blaming everyone, then nobody goes anywhere. So one of the things that, you know, I think the programs we work with are looking at this and And I think it's a big opportunity. So again, the onus is on the program, on the coaches to set the right structure to let parents know, how they should communicate. So I think that's important. You can't expect parents to sort of just know it out of intuition. You have to set a process and a structure in place.
Yeah, for sure. How important is it, in your opinion, for coaches to have continuing education, to have certifications and things like that in order to have the skills and the tools available to really maximize a platform like Tenicity?
Right. So I think it's very important. So a couple of things. One is I think the coaches that are going to be sort of ahead of others, differentiating themselves, they are going to have the curiosity to learn, to go and try new things, to be more open-minded. So to me, that's going to separate the best coaches from everyone else. Those that don't have the motivation to learn or change, well, then it will sort of pan out, whatever the future has for them. But I think it's very important to keep learning. Certifications and education in the industry is good, but I think one opportunity we have is to sort of go beyond the certification. So let's say there's a workshop. People go for 3 days. They learn a lot of great ideas, but the follow through of that becomes very important. To be able to take what you learned and actually apply it, I think that's the next step. And so there's the opportunity for us there with our platform, with the tools to really take what you've learned, to put it into practice, create a structure, have lesson plans, have a degree of feedback, whether it's assessments or. So I think that's where I think things fall short right now is, coaches go to these conferences and workshops, but then 10 days later, everything's back to sort of what it was before.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I think you see that in most industries that have these types of educational opportunities. You go and you get all pumped up about all this new stuff you're learning, and then you get back home and you just kind of fall back into the status quo, and
right. So the question becomes, how do we strengthen the follow through of that? And I guess there's no simple answer, but there needs to be a continuation of that and a practical application to what you learn. So it'll be interesting to see how the industry evolves and how we can sort of really practically apply much of what is learned.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, the stuff you're doing with Tenicity is really cutting edge, and you are in front of the coaches on a regular basis, and you're, traveling around the world. You're seeing all different types of coaching opportunities and interactions with players and tools and all of that. And I mean, to me, you have so much to offer to the tennis industry as a whole. And I think it'll be very interesting to see where you and Tenicity wind up fitting into the whole kind of, big picture of tennis in this country.
Right. No, thank you for that. It's been really interesting. I was at a conference last month. It was a it was a sports analytics and technology conference, and I learned a lot about different technologies that are coming in, not just in tennis, but across various sports, and how sophisticated things are getting. But I think the important thing in tennis is, given my background, that I've spent my whole life in tennis, I've been a player, I've been through the journey, I've been a coach. I think that's really helpful because there's so much new technology, but we really have to first think of it as, what problem are we really trying to solve here? How can we get the coach better? How can we get the program better? How can we help players improve? And that's where, a lot of my conversations start first with tennis and trying to figure out how do we improve, and then to say, okay, now we have a solution, we can do it. So I think that way the application of the technology is so important. I'm seeing so much of it, but I'd really recommend to a lot of programs and coaches and players and parents who are making decisions on what tools or what kinds of technologies to use, to really think about also the people behind it. And because it's a long-term thing, and it's not just using a technology, it's also about having discussions around tennis and sort of what you're trying to improve.
Why do you think the tennis industry as a whole has been so slow to kind of wrap its arms around technology?
Sorry, the question is, why do I think the tennis industry is sort of taking more time to
embrace technology? I feel like we're really behind the times with our sport.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. I think I'm not sure I have an answer to that, but there are a lot of new technologies coming in. I mean, so there are many options, and I think the challenge is really not just the technology, but also the application, the integration of it. But there's a lot going on, definitely on the sports science side. So new sort of wearable technology that shows data on physical fitness and training. But one of the things I'm also focused on is how do we do it for pure tennis skills? And sometimes we forget the tennis skills. We get so wrapped up in the physical fitness and the speed and the power. But at the end of the day, you've got to hit a tennis ball, and you've got to be able to hit accurately off the forehand, off the backhand. You need to have a good serve. So I think what's interesting is, how do we also develop a progression and systematic way of developing skills, pure tennis skills. And that's where I think maybe we've been a bit behind because, we're talking so much about everything else. And sometimes I just like to focus more on the tennis skills. So my hope is that, as we think of technology and adopting different sort of tools, that we don't lose sight of what makes a tennis player, which is ultimately, your tennis skills.
Right. And I mean, so you are working to develop these partnerships in a variety of manners. I mean, you've partnered with an energy drink I saw, and in India, I guess. Is that where the drink company is based?
That's right. Yep. So they're one of the leading. Yep. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Talk about them.
Yeah, right. So in India, the company's name is Enersol, and they're like the Gatorade of India. So they're a balanced energy drink, doing really well across different sports. And we thought it was a great partnership to sort of join hands and see how best we can help Indian junior players and the program. So we've started with a digital partnership where over the next year, I'll be creating 12 blogs and 12 videos and delivering high quality instructional content targeted to the junior players to really help them develop the right fundamentals and also share some ideas on specific drills that they can practice to improve their game. So really excited about the partnership and looking to sort of, grow it over the next year. And we'll see, other interesting opportunities that open up.
Yeah, I think that's great. And then I read also that you're working on a partnership with the ITA, the Intercollegiate Tennis Association. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because my audience knows what a fan I am of college tennis.
Right. No, it's a great platform. College tennis changed my life, and I'm, I'm sure it's had that effect on many players from across the world. So I think very excited about the opportunity in college tennis. We supported University of Minnesota last year with Tenicity, and that was a successful partnership. And we're trying to expand our reach and support more college programs, and the IT has been supporting my efforts to reach out to more college coaches. We have an ongoing survey with tennis technology and analytics, and we're really asking, important questions and trying to understand what the coaches need, how are they thinking about technology and analytics, and whether we can be a fit. I'm not going to colleges and saying to adopt Tenicity or it's the next best thing. I'm really taking the time to learn and then see if we can really help. So the IT has been very supportive, and it's interesting. We have some discussions ongoing and just sort of learning more about the college system and seeing how best we can integrate our platform and support more programs.
And how are the coaches responding to that, the college coaches? I mean, are they open to to working with you guys?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've had about a dozen coaches now take the survey, and I think for the most part, if I had to look at the trend, it's definitely, they are looking to be more data driven. So they understand that there's a competitive advantage to being more organized and having the training and the match data available, so that they spend less time trying to find this information, more time learning from it, and then making better decisions. So that's definitely been a need. The match analytics piece, a lot of coaches have been interested in that. So we're generating pretty specific analytics reports off the match video. So I think that's the clear opportunity to. A lot of coaches right now are not getting very good analytics, so we can help them there, and that's a huge advantage, because if you can see clearly that a particular player is needs to work on a certain shot from a certain part of the court, or they're missing a certain shot repeatedly, that provides a really clear direction on training. So the match analytics piece is the second piece, and then the mobile app is interesting to a lot of programs that want to share match results and match evaluations, and do so from a mobile phone.
Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking too, in terms of recruiting, that, are the coaches looking at this as giving them a leg up in the recruiting process? Because as a junior player, if I'm looking, let's say narrowing it down between 3 or 5 schools, and one of the schools has the Tenicity platform available to me to help me really get better, does that sway my decision to choose that school, all other things being equal? And I would think yes.
That's right. Yeah, so it can be a powerful recruiting tool. One more thing to showcase and help the opportunity to get a good player. So there are two sides to this. First, from the coach's side, they can show objectively how they develop players. And then as a new player comes into the system, right away they have access to a lot of good information from previous years. So think about all of the matches played, think about all of the match evaluations of opponents. So, right away, let's say you're playing a certain player from a different school, and that player, you played against them in the previous year. So you have access to information that maybe others don't. Plus, I think from a players and parents standpoint, or junior coach standpoint, I would encourage them to look deeper than just the results and rankings of colleges. To really look at how they're developing players, particularly for the players that are looking to become players past college, that have higher aspirations. You want to go to a school where they can showcase how they develop players, and Tenicity's platform is a great way to showcase the progressions they have, the plan they have in place, and how they manage player development over the years, the players in the program.
That's a great point. It's funny. I just got an email from a parent who has a daughter that is just starting the recruiting process. And one of the questions that the parent asked me was, how do you know if a college program is going to be able to develop your child as a player, or if they're just interested in having a fully developed player come in that can win for them? How do you tell that? And to me, if a school has Tenicity available, that's a clear indicator that they are in the business of taking players to the next level. They're not looking for players that are already done developing.
That's right. You can clearly show the work you've done using this platform, and that's very powerful. And I would say, to parents that, you ask those tough questions. Ask if, how they manage goals, how they manage the training plan, how are they going to, manage the development of the player. So I think if they're using our platform, it becomes a very simple answer. They can actually show it to you. But if they can't show it and it's all over the place and it's haphazard, then sort of where things are at. So, that would be a huge advantage, I would think. And I'm sure as coaches learn about the platform and see the benefits, they can use it in multiple ways to improve their program.
Right. And I mean, again, from the recruiting angle, to me, it's just one more positive to have in your back pocket that, this is something we offer at our program that other schools may not have yet. And so, if you're really truly committed to getting better as a player, we're going to be able to help you do that because we have these tools in place.
That's right. Yeah, it's always great to showcase that you're organized, that you have a structure, that you have a plan, and that you're looking to innovate and improve. I think that's another important piece is, the program showcasing that. Because I remember when I was a player, it was important for me to go to a good program that was also looking to get better. And so we're looking to partner with programs and coaches that are looking to get better, that want to be better next year than they are this year. And so this is the effort to, I'm not saying everything we do is going to be successful, but at least we're trying. We're trying to put a really good plan in place. We're trying to sort of personalize it, the experience, and look at key metrics that we can help a player, even if it's two things. But that's two things that the player is so much better than when they came in, when they came into the program. So I think just making that selection of where to play and which school to go to is such an important decision. And the more information there is, the better you can make your decision. But if you have no information to go by, then it's, I guess, we just have to take a call then.
Right. I mean, it's a crapshoot otherwise, right? I mean, you're hoping for the best. And I think that's where technology really is such a benefit in our sport is it takes out that crapshoot kind of element. All of a sudden you have data, you have tools, you have all these things in place that help you make a more educated, informed decision, whether it's a junior coach, whether it's which rackets to use, because you can maybe track how you're playing with one racket versus another, whether it's choosing a college and a college coach. I mean, there are just so many advantages to using technology to improve our sport. And I just feel like, what you're doing with Tenicity is it's cutting edge. And one of the things I really like about you, Harsh, and what I really like about Tenicity is you didn't rush into the marketplace. You have taken the time to do the legwork and to really study what's out there and to figure out how to make it better. And I like you said, I think it comes from the fact that you have a tennis background, but it's also your technology knowledge, that's your area of expertise. And I think it's fantastic. And I'm really interested to see how far this ends up going and the difference that it ends up making in in terms of junior development, especially.
Sure. Yeah. No. Thank you for that. I've had good advice, and we have good advisors. So, and certain things you just learn by, making mistakes. So as you start a new company, I'm sure I was eager and sort of jump in, and you want to sell your product. But I think I understood fairly quickly that I need to learn and need to find the right customers, and the product needs to improve, and we need to be solving problems at the end of the day. So it's been a process, and I've gained a respect for the process, and things take time. But in terms of player development, as an example, I work with a few players here, and I'm training a player right now, and she's a high potential junior player. But for the first time, I'm giving her structure now in our tennis. So, for example, recently she shared a match evaluation, and generally her match evaluations, as I started reading some of them, it was just about score. I was up 4-2. I lost the set. I was up 2-1, 40-15. I should have won the game. And so it was interesting to see sort of the results focus. And as I'm starting to get her to think more about, how did the set go? What did you do well from a skill standpoint? What are the things that, you're executing well on? What are the things you need to work on? So that's now getting her much deeper into thinking about her game and improvement. Secondly, she's playing tournaments. Sometimes, it'll be a Monday or Tuesday of the week, and then she signs up for a tournament on the weekend. So again, it's interesting that, these decisions are made, again, sort of just on the fly. And we're talking now about scheduling and talking about, okay, at least let's look at the next 12 weeks and have a plan. You should know when you're training, when you're playing. So sort of one player at a time, trying to, make an impact. And we'll see where that takes us. But that's what we're using Tenicity for. I mean, the platform for, and all of our efforts is to start helping players and parents to approach the game with a better structure, with a better plan. And a lot of them need help because right now, it's sort of, they're doing the best they can, but they need better advice.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, well, let's dig into this whole player development idea a little bit deeper because obviously for my audience, I think that's typically the major concern is how do I help my child get better, and what are the things available to me to make that happen. So let's talk about more of the details that Tenicity is giving to coaches and to players to really help them get better.
Right. So so we're looking at it holistically. So we're not just a video analysis app or a match analytics app. We're really bringing it all together because I firmly believe it's a journey that starts first with your goals and where you are today in terms of your game. So that's the initial game assessment that needs to happen. You need to understand where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and then you can sort of build a training plan based on that. And you've got to have a mechanism to be able to track your progress. So this is very important. It turns out that a lot of what we're trying to do is really based in research. So a couple of months ago, I read a book called Peak by Anders Ericsson, who's a peak performance researcher. Done a lot of work in sports, in medicine, in all different areas. And it was really interesting as I read the book and as I read the research, and then I thought about all the work we're doing with Tenicity. It really aligned because he's talking about the same things after looking at many sort of junior prodigies and peak performers. It comes down to these principles of having specific goals, having them measurable, training with a certain focus, having a plan, having the ability to track your progress, working outside your comfort zone. This is so important. If you just show up every day and play tennis and you do the same thing you did, turns out you're not actually getting better. Once you master the easy stuff, once you master all the stuff that after that, it's not about just showing up and playing. It's really about how do you take yourself to the next level? What's the next skill that you need to work on? How do you make it more challenging? So all of these pieces need to come together, and our platform helps to manage the communication, manage that information in a way that you can really learn from it and improve. Because if it's in 5 different places, if it's lost in emails, conversations, there's really also no accountability or ownership of any of it. So I think we're trying to help in that regard to bring a clearer process and help the team along this journey.
Oh, that's fantastic. It really is. And I'm so excited for you guys and to my audience. I'm excited for y'all. Y'all need to get excited over this platform and take a look at it because it's where tennis has needed to go for a while, and I'm just so happy it's finally available.
That's right. And beyond the platform, the other thing we do, and we did a couple of these this year, is content, sharing instructional videos. I just recently shared a lesson plan with very specific drills on the forehand. So there's a lot of ways we can support, again, based on the needs of the program. But I think there, again, being from tennis and having the knowledge, we can support beyond, the technology with good content. So I think that's the opportunity as well. But it's exciting, and I appreciate your comments as a parent. I know you were deeply involved in the journey, and you've talked about how challenging it was, and the feedback part of it too. So we're definitely looking at that piece and seeing how we can integrate the full team and get everyone on the same page.
Wonderful. Well, Harsh, what else do you want us to know about what's coming with Tenicity?
There's a clear vision now. I think moving forward, definitely continuing to work on our mobile app, looking to enhance that piece, and we'll keep improving the technology. I think with our partners in college tennis, making a concerted effort to work with different programs to reach out to them, and I'm hoping that next year we'll be supporting several schools. And then the junior academy space, definitely interested to reach out to as many programs as we can, share about our technologies, share about the benefits that we offer, and sort of keep learning and see how far we can take this.
Awesome. And if people want to find you, how do they do that?
Well, they can email me, harsh@tenicity.com, or my number, 651-285-7280. And then also our website, www.tenicity, TENICITY.com. And always great to have conversations, and I love when parents, players, and coaches reach out, and then we can have a discussion on player development.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. And we'll have to do this again at your next juncture. And, the next time you have a big shift, and I'll keep my ears and eyes out for your newsletter, and so that I'm up to speed on what's going on in the world of Tenicity. But in the meantime, parents, I urge you to check this out. Coaches, please, please, please look at this and reach out to Harsh and see if this is something that you can incorporate into your academy or your teaching or your school, because it's the wave of the future, and tennis needs to get on board with technology, and I think this is one of those products that is really going to help make a difference in the way we develop players. And we need help in our country. We need to get more kids at the top of the game and make sure that they are competitive when it comes to college scholarships, and make sure they're competitive if they decide to turn pro and try and make a go of it out there. So anything we can do to help that along is fantastic in my view. And Harsh, you are doing the hard work, so thank you.
No, thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. We really, here in the U.S., we've got to go beyond the results at the junior level. We've got to look at, how we can improve the quality of practice, how we can drive more focus, how we can get the team together. So that's very important, and the results will come. I think the results are a byproduct. We've got to do the work right. We've got to get everybody on the same page, improve the system, and that's where I'm working really hard. I'd like to see U.S. tennis. It was great to see 4 women in the semifinals of the U.S. Open. It's an incredible feat. And there's some top players as well, but we've got a lot of work to do. And we'll keep working and try to give every player the best opportunity. So thanks so much, Lisa, and congrats on your success as well. It's great to see Parenting Aces doing well and growing, and look forward to our next communication.
Fantastic. Thank you. And to my listeners, thanks so much for tuning in to Parenting Aces. We'll catch you next time. I'm Lisa Stone, and you've been listening to the Parenting Aces podcast. For tennis parents, by a tennis parent. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to us and write a review on iTunes. For more information on navigating the junior and college tennis journey, please visit us online at parentingaces.com. Thanks for tuning in and sharing us with your tennis community.